Good morning, everybody. It's Janet with Fruit of the Vine Art Studio. And last night we worked on a project, and I said I would be back this morning. And morning's just about over, so I thought I better get myself on and take care of this project that we're working on. Yesterday, we took a piece of wood and we applied pictures of birds to the wood, and we called it the Decoupage Bird Collage. And you can see what it looks like right now. It turned out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with how it looks. It's got a couple of little air bubbles in it, which I'm not sure really how that's going to affect our stencil, but we're going to see what happens when we do it and see what it turns out. Now, I had said that I was going to put the word sing up here, and I was going to put a bird down here in the corner. That was my original plan. Unfortunately, the smallest bird in my stencils, if I place it at this bottom corner and I place the word sing up in the top corner, the bottom of the word sing is going to overlap the bird's beak, and I don't want that to happen. So I had to make a change of plans, and I just looked at it differently and said, well, we'll put sing at the bottom. We'll put the sing down at the bottom corner, and we'll put the little bird up here in the top corner, and that way everything will fit. We'll put the little bird up here in this top corner, and that way everything's going to fit onto the board, because it is a pretty small board. It's really not that large at all. Okay, so we've got our stencils and we've got our wood. I've got myself a palette that I'm ready to work with. Now, I've never actually tried using a stencil on top of a piece of decoupage like this, because it's kind of thick. Usually if you use a stencil, you're doing it on a very flat surface, like just the wood itself. So I'm not really sure. This is an experiment. Once again, you guys are here with me doing my experiment. Hey, Dustin, I see you there. Thank you for joining me. Little shout out for you. Glad to hear you're getting out of the hospital today. So hope everything goes well. We're praying for a full and speedy recovery for you. Okay, now anyway, we are going to take a makeup brush, is what I was told, that a makeup brush is actually the thing that you're going to want to use in order to do, thank you, in order to do this stenciling. So, hi Wilma, thank you for joining us. I'm going to take the stencil, I'm going to tape it down with painter's tape around just the edges up here, and then we're going to use this makeup brush, and I'm going to use some white. I'm going to make that bird, I decided I'd make the bird in red, and I'd use a yellow for the beak. And I guess without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started with our little project here. So I'm going to take you guys and flip you upside down and put you on the stand so that you can see what we're going to do. All right, here we go. Let me get this flipped right here. Up. Saw my mess. Those are some winter coats that I had piled up over here. Let me unplug that for a second. There we go. Now we see the light falling. That's okay. I'm going to get that right back up and turn him right back over. All right. Now, I think that looks like you can see it pretty well. Turn you up here just a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and get started here. Now, I'm going to take sing first, since it's down at the bottom and that can dry while we're working on the bird. And I'm going to put it right here in this corner. And I'm going to take some of my painter's tape. And I wasn't sure whether or not I wanted to do this in black or white. And the background is sort of dark. So I thought to myself, I guess it would probably be best to start with the white, and that way if I don't like it, it would be just basically a base background for using black then. But if I start with the black, then it's going to be much harder to cover over with white if I decide that I really don't like it in black. So we're just going to start with white this morning. I'm going to get my paint over here, give it a good shake, put some on my palette. Little palette here. Now we'll just start with about that much. Let me wipe that off. That's got some stuff on the rim. I need to clean that off. Okay, now I'm going to dip my little sponge into the water just to get it slightly dampened. Okay, get this over here, and then we're just going to get some of the paint on our stencil. And you don't want a lot. You want it to just, you don't want it to be so much that it's going to be ooking out underneath it. Okay, and we're just going to start dabbing with the makeup brush. Now it's going to take, obviously, it's going to take more than one layer, because one layer is not going to be enough to make this show up. So we're just going to keep dabbing. Going to get a little more paint over here. And as I'm getting the paint, I'm just sort of dabbing off to the side so that I don't have big globs of it, because if you've got big globs, it will seep underneath your stencil. You want to make sure your stencil's down. Good. Okay. And we're just going to dab. And that's looking like that's covering much better now underneath here. You can see it's starting to get a good coat of the white. All right. I'm going to do one more layer of this white real fast here. Now it's kind of easy to see how, if I have to put it back, I put it directly in this corner right here. So if I take it up and realize that, oh, I needed to have another layer on here, by putting it directly in the corner, it will make it so much easier for me to realign it if I need to go back and do one more layer. Oops, now look, I got a little bit on the side here, so I don't particularly want that. Right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and lift my stencil. I see one little spot right here. I want to get a little more white right there in this spot right here going across. You can see that the paint is soaking in to the newsprint beneath it. See how that took that right back off again? We're just going to dab some more. We don't want it to be thick, but we want it to at least be thick enough to not be seen through completely. We want it to show up. Okay, a little more. Oh, now that's getting a little too thick, I think. Okay, we're going to stop right there. I'm going to peel this tape off right here on the edge. I'm going to save it for the next piece. I'm going to peel this tape off right here, and you want to lift it up pretty quickly, just like that. Now, you can see we've got a little bit right here, and that's all right. We can take this, we can get just a little bit of water, just a little bit of water on it, and look at that. It just basically rubbed right off. Now, our stencil isn't absolutely perfect, but that's okay. We're not really looking for perfection. We're looking for something that looks cute, that's nice, that we can put on the wall. Now, one thing I want to remind you guys about your stencils, it is important to try to keep your stencils cleaned off. If you don't keep them cleaned, they'll end up getting more paint around the edges here like that, and it'll make it harder to make nice, clean stenciling if you've got a lot of paint built up on the edges of your stencils. So usually, while it's still pretty wet and easy to get off, I wipe off what I can, and then later, after we're done with our project, I can go back and really clean up the edges a lot better. But this way, at least my stencil is not going to have dried up, globbed paint on it while I'm moving forward with my project in case I need to go back and use it again. I'm going to flip it over also and clean off a little under the bottom. I can see spots and where it came through. And if I don't wipe those off, I'm going to get even worse spots the next time that I use this stencil. Okay, so that stencil's nice and clean, pretty quick, pretty easy. A couple little things on it, and I will wash it completely later. But for now, while I'm talking and we're waiting on that white to dry off a little bit, because I don't really want to just stick the stencil right on top of it again while it's still wet. Should have brought up my hair dryer. That's what a lot of people do, is they'll take their hair dryer and blow it dry with the hair dryer while they're waiting on, so they can move forward with the project. I'm just going to fan it a little bit, and you guys will have to bear with me. I'm sorry. I'm thinking that's looking kind of dry. Let me see. I see it's wet right there still. Sorry, that's taking a little longer than I thought it would. That was where I tried to glob that on to cover that up because that dark color was coming through. But that's okay, because we're going to do some more little touch-ups to this anyway. I hate to touch it. I'm always tempted. I'm impatient. I think it's pretty good. Okay, now we're going to put our little bird. Should I put the bird further down? Maybe I should put the bird right in the corner just like that, so when I put my stencil back on here, I won't have an issue with that. I'm going to have to touch it before I do this, I'm afraid. And you can't really tell my hands are a mess anyway, huh? Who'd know? I can tell. It's not wet. It's all right. I can put this down now. Okay, so we're going to take our same little pieces of tape, and we're going to do the same thing that we did over there. We're going to put this bird right in the corner. Here we go. And we also want to have a shout out today to our friend Hope. We know that today is Hope's birthday. Happy birthday, Hope. We hope that you're having a wonderful day. Now I'm going to keep that white right there. And I'm going to take my little sponge and stick it in the water and get some of the white out of that there. And then just get it off of there. All right. Now, yellow being lighter than the red color, I am actually going to start with the yellow. Give your paint a shake. I'm using just bright yellow is what I'm using. And this is just going to take a teeny tiny drop, because it's just going to be a little beak. So there we go. And I'm going to use the pointy tip for this one. I'm pressing, you can see it lifts up, so I'm pressing it down as I do it. And you got to be careful, because you don't want to get the yellow inside of here. Now we can see that that yellow is extremely light. So that's going to take a couple of coats, I'd say. And maybe while it's getting itself dried, we'll move on and do the red, and then come back and do some more of that, and I'll just squeeze off the tip of my sponge. We'll get us a little red here. Let's see, if I do the red bird, maybe I'll give it a white belly and white wings. What do you think? Little red tips on them right here. That might be interesting looking. Get a little red paint out, and now for our red, I'm using crimson red. Okay, now we're going to take our sponge and kind of dab it off to the side a little. You don't want it to be too thick again. I know what the yellow we did, though. And let's just bring it right through here. There's going to be a couple of loads of that done that's going to be needed, too. You know, really, now that I'm thinking about this and I'm looking at it, I probably should have done a base of white and then added the colors to the top of it. I didn't think of that, though. As I said, This is the first time I've tried using a stencil on top of newsprints. So I wasn't sure how that was going to work out. Now that doesn't look at all to me like that's going to be dark enough to show up at all. It really looks like I'm going to have to go with white first and then bring the other colors on top of that. So here we are, guys, in the middle of our project, and we're learning something pretty quickly. This experiment needs to be done with white. So it's not going to make a difference under here because I'm not going to lift this up. All I'm going to do is take my paper towel and remove as much as I can of the red first. I'm not going to even worry about what's on here because it's going to be covered. And we're going to move right back over here to this other side that I didn't use and get us some of this white. And we're just going to do this bird in white first. And then we'll come back and do some colors after it's dried. Because that seems to me like that's going to be the best way to get this little birdie to show on this background. So here we go, doing something we hadn't actually even planned on doing, but that's okay. Because you know what? Art is all about learning and experimenting and coming up with new and different and fun things to do. And I already had the white paint sitting on my palette anyway, so we may as well use it up. No need to let it go and just dry up. Now, while that's working, I'm just going to dab a little more yellow over here. Because I'm not going to do the white on there. I'm just going to go ahead and make it enough layers of yellow to where the bird's beak is going to show. Actually, I'm going to do a little yellow on his legs in a second here once they get a little dry. See that? I think that's going to be so much better when we go to put the color on it. I think it's going to show up much better because that red obviously was not transferring well at all onto there. It's a very thin color to try to cover up something as thick as that magazine paper. We're just dabbing it on here. Now, they do say that you should lift your stencils as opposed to leaving them set on there so that it'll have a more crisper line. But I'm going to have it on here so that we can change the colors. So I'm going to lift it up for a couple of seconds here. I do wish I'd have brought my hairdryer up. It would have been perfect. We do need it. And I can see that it's gotten in a couple of spaces underneath here that I really didn't want it in, where the lines should be. But I think I might do a little outlining in black when we actually get this done to make them show up a little bit better. Because I don't know, I always seem to want to outline everything in darker and black and make it show up. It's going to have some highlights on it. It's got to have highlights. I can see it's wet down here and right there. But you can see that by placing that on there, it didn't hurt the sing at all. Looks like that's actually where the paper got rubbed and the color came off of it. So that's not part of our stencil. That's just part of where I took the brush and rubbed a little too hard with the end of my brush yesterday. Using this piece, trying to get the bubble out, and I rubbed it a little too hard and it lifted up the color. So when you're making this, be sure that if you use your brush to try to press out some of the air bubbles, that you don't rub so hard that you lift up actual coloring from the newsprint. I did. That's still a little bit wet down in there. Oh, I don't like how the beak looks at all. It's a mess. That did not turn out good. So, easy thing to do. I'm going to lift that up. Nope, dropped my paper. I'm going to get me a little bit of wet water on my paper towel. Mistakes are not a problem if you take care of them before they become permanent. See? It's still going to have a little bit behind it, and I realize that. But you know what? It's not going to look that bad now. I just got to fix that little spot. And you can see why that happened. All that yellow underneath the inside where that wasn't down tight enough. I'm wiping off this stuff on the inside here where you can see where it went through on our stencil. So that's going to keep our stencil from working very well. Yep, it did. That stencil didn't make very good little circles. Well, as I said, we are learning here. This is our learning in progress. We're going to fix this little bird, though. I need for this to dry real quickly. I'm literally going to take the black, and I'm going to outline this when we get it all done. So it's going to look really cute. And I'll just have to outline these little circles on it. And it's going to look fine. It looks a little bit wonky right now, but it's okay. It's going to look fine when we get it done. I just need for this to dry. And as we know, it's taking it a while. Acrylics do dry fast. Just not fast enough when you're in the middle of trying to do something live on Facebook, huh? But that's okay. It really kind of globbed up there, didn't it? Well, it's okay. We can still see that it's going to be a bird when we get it done. I can see the wetness. I'm not sure if you guys can or not. You can see it right in here and these little spots where it actually went through underneath the stencil itself and kind of made a mess. Now, once again, I could try just taking off a little bit of it. And I'm not sure that that helps, but that's going to help it dry. If nothing else, it's going to help it get dry a little bit quicker. Taking that little tip off of the edge, I am going to use black and a liner brush and go around the bird at the end. Okay. Got to remember to be patient. Every time I'm doing a live, for some reason, I start getting notifications and messages. Let's see. I really can't see what you guys are typing up here. I'm sitting down. I can stand up and look. Oh, hi, Cassie. Glad you're here. Yes, that is a bunch of stuff stacked up over in that corner. That's a lot of coats. Here, we're going to try putting this back down now. Going to get it right on top of it. Right there. Now you can see that that white paint is drying on the top, but it will still wash off after we're completely finished. I'm not too worried about that white paint being on there. Okay, now we're going to move forward and try and see how the red goes on. And I'm hoping that it's going to show up now. I'm a little afraid to put too much after what I just saw when I pulled that up. Oh, I think that's looking better. It's not a deep red, but that's okay. I don't really need it to be a real deep red. I just wanted a nice little red bird. That's not too bad looking. I'm kind of liking it. I'm really thinking a different sponge. I know they said to use makeup brushes because they're so dense. But I'm thinking I need to have something that's got a little more control than these edges here. It's hard to keep it from getting over into the white area of the belly. Maybe I'll just take a little more white right here. Oh, and it's getting a little yellow. Okay, well, let's make it a little yellow belly. It's all right with me. That bird can have a yellow belly, and that'll be just perfectly fine. That actually is going to give it a little more of a contrast anyway. Let's give him some yellow legs. Sometimes it's an unexpected surprise that works out just perfect. Oh, you never know. Okay, so now let's see. We've got to get some yellow in that little beak area. And I'm just not feeling that sponge brush right there. I mean, that sponge makeup thing. I think I'm going to use my little sponge brush that I can control the corner of. So I'm getting my sponge brush here, and I'm going to do this. Just like that. It's probably not dark enough, but for the moment, I'm going to let it go, and we're going to lift this up, and we're going to see our little bird here. I kind of like that yellowish red right there on the edges of it. I think that turned out pretty nice. And I think I'm going to take my white and color the inside of this wing where the other spots are. Now, also on this, if you can see it, I'm not sure if you can, there's a little bird face. It's got the eyeball on it. So once this dries, I can align this right on there, and then I can put a black dot for the eye, and the eyeball will be in the exact spot where it's supposed to be. Now, I'm still not happy with that beak. I am not happy with that beak at all. And I'm going to look over here in my little armoire. And get me a little brush. Little drop more of that yellow. I always try to do just drops, because if I don't, I end up over pouring and then I'm wasting my paint. So if I need more, it's easier to add a drop than it is to actually try to put it back in the bottle, because that doesn't work. So I am actually forgetting about the stencil for the moment, and I am going to just paint. This little bird beak on here, and it's going to be a little bit thicker than it would have been had it been a stencil, but that stencil was just not making me happy. It was not working the way I wanted it to, that's for sure. I need to get this out of my way so that I can put my arm down to steady my hand. Let's put this over here. Move that right there. Now, we're getting a little better looking beak shape here. And I realize it kind of takes away from the stenciled look because it is a little thicker, but really that's okay. I'm not even going to concern myself with that, honestly. It's the bird, it's got a beak, and that's really the whole point. We want a bird with a beak. So that's what we've got now. We've got the bird and a beak. Maybe if I make that line just a little more crisp right there, that'll show off a little bit better. And we've got his little legs done there now. And all I have to do is fill in that wing area. And I'm going to do that with the white. So while we're here, I'm going to take my little brush and get the yellow off of it. Wash it 1 or 2 different times. Like I said before, if you want to make sure it's clean, rub it on your skin, and if you don't see any paint, then you know that you actually got it cleaned off. Okay, get us a little bit of white here. And I'm going to have to steady my hand. We're just going to fill this in. And yeah, it'll have a little bit of a different look with the hand painting on it. But I'm okay with that. You'll be able to see that it's got brushing on it as opposed to stenciling, but that's all right. It's a homemade craft. It is handmade. So you're going to see strokes made by hand. Guys, got any big plans for the day? We're just going to take the dog for a walk, hopefully before some rain comes along after Steve gets home from work. He's at work right now. So, probably going to go down to one of the parks and drop off a rock. I've got a few of them downstairs that are waiting to be placed out for hunting. A couple more of those pineapples and a couple more of those little birds. Let me get my crazy hair out of the way. Now the little circles aren't going to be perfect anymore, but you know, that's okay. As I said, we aren't looking for perfection. We're just looking to have some fun and make something different. You know, you make something like this for someone, it's one of a kind. They're not going to find it anywhere else. It's made with love. And I'm going to let it dry, and I'm going to put another little coat over top of it so that it looks a little thicker. Smooth that little edge right there out. There we go. Little spot right here. Bring that around for the wing. There we go. And our little bird's gonna look very cute once we get that done. We need to put his little eyeball on, but now of course we have to wait for this to dry. There's always something that we're waiting for, that's for sure. Let's put our stencil over here to the side. We're just about done with our project. I'm kind of liking how it looks. These little lines here have to be a little bit thicker to where the strokes aren't showing up quite as much. I've got some exciting stuff coming up in the fall, you guys. We're going to start doing some stuff on wood. I found a supplier in Indiana, and he's got some wonderful stuff. We can do all kinds of stuff this fall for gifts for Christmas. Lots of really, really neat things. I'm going to show them to you later on this week when I get them here. It's going to be some cool stuff. We're going to have some really fun things to make for our friends and family this year. Just try to edge that a little bit right here. That's not helping it too much, is it? Okay, we're waiting on that white to dry, and then we're going to put this little bitty dot on the eyeball. I guess I should get me a drop of black, since we'll be needing that. Let me see. Here we got us a drop of black. Put on a bird eye. Still waiting on that beak to dry too. I really put that yellow on there thick. Maybe you should just put the white right here too to keep it consistent looking. That white really needs to be thinned down a little. Put a little water on there. That'll help. There. I think that kind of helps it anyway, honestly. I'm waiting for those to dry. We're going to put the eye on. That needs to dry right there. Going to take black and put it on the inside, or I mean on the edge on this side of each of the letters. And then our little project will be completed. I can see you need just a touch of white right there. I keep messing with this. It's never going to get dry, is it? We'll be waiting forever for Janet to finish this project, because she keeps touching it. There we go. Maybe I should leave that alone for a second. Okay. Here, let's work on putting the strokes in here in black for right now while this is drying, and then we can go back and work on that bird's eye. You know, we learn something new every day, and I learned that stenciling on top of a decoupage is not as easy as they make it look. That's for sure. That is for sure. Certainly not as easy as they make it look. Let's get a bit of our black. It's just plain old black. And we're just going to put a little bit. Like I said before, I always just like to do a drop or two. Why put out more than you need? Okay, now I'm going to turn it to make it easier for me to get to it. Let's see. I pull that down to a bit of a point here. Maybe get me one little drop of water on the tip of my brush. Add it to the black, just to thin it down a little bit. There, that's a better consistency. Because we know the black will easily show. That won't be an issue. Well, I better start over on this end. Okay, we're going to go right along the edge. Right across this top, right along here, right across this top, It's going to be on the insides. Put it here. Bring it down right along here. Now, it doesn't have to be right on it. It doesn't have it. If you have it on the outside of it, it's all right. If you get it on the inside of it, it's all right. All we're doing is creating a highlight for it. Okay? So we're going to bring it. What you're hearing there is my Ring doorbell. Okay, we're going to bring this on the bottom, right down here, bottom, right down there, get just a little bit more. Right here. On the bottom, around the side, here. Ooh, jeezel. Let's do that again. And you know, it's okay even if you mess up a little. Because we've got a stencil, we can always go right back and do it again if we want. If we really don't like how it looks, we can just go back and do it again. It's not a big deal at all. Let's edge that a little bit better right here. Okay. And I think this needed to come down to right here, like that. Show up right there. This actually needs to be curved better. But you know what? I'm kind of liking how that looks right there. I can take the back of my brush, and I can dip it into the black, like that. And I can make little dots right in there. There, make him just a little bit bigger. Okay. And then we'll make four little dots going down the eye. There we go. There we are. He gets an extra. All right, I think the top part might be dry now. That's how the word sing turned out. I'm still going to have to go back and do a little work on the white around it. I might actually even outline the entire word. But for now, I think we're just going to put the eye on there. I think this looks dry. It is. It is. So we can see now that this is supposed to be placed over that. And I'm kind of worried about placing it right there right now because I just did that black and I don't want that black to end up getting messed up there. And I'll tell you what, honestly, I'm going to do it with my brush. Now I'm just gonna dot that eyeball. Right like that. There we go. And the bird has an eye. Woo! Pull that up really quick and get it done. All right, guys. I think for now, I'm not real happy with the way that looks. I am actually going to take more white and I'm going to go around those edges after that black dries a little bit. I think I've drank too much coffee this morning. I'm a little shaky. But of course, I drink too much coffee every single morning. And if you know me, you know that's true. And once I'm done drinking my coffee, I start drinking tea. So I'm living on the caffeine, you guys. I am living on the caffeine. All right, let's get this out of the way here. Let's go back over here. Do a little bit on the inside of this. Oh my goodness. I have to put some water in that. Well, you know, I can sit here and correct and fix and correct and fix and go on for hours and hours working on something. And I know nobody wants to hang around that long while I work on this. So for now, you guys, I think we're going to go ahead and close. I am going to tighten this up around the edges just by very slowly painting along those spots. I'm going to fix up this curled area here, do a little more detail on the bird, and when I get everything done, I will post it for you to see what the finished thing looks like. I do hope that you enjoyed watching how we created the decoupage bird collage, once again, using Mod Podge. And today a little bit of paint. So it's a little bit different than it's been. We did some painting on the top of it. I do like how it looks. I think it turned out pretty daggone cute. Something I'm happy with. And if I'm happy with it, I think that that's really the only thing that matters, huh? So I want to thank you guys once again for joining me this morning. I hope you have a wonderful weekend and you get to go out and do something really fun today. All right? Thanks. I'll see you again next time. See, I'm waving bye to you. Bye, guys. Thank you. Oops.